because some of the things that have gone viral on the internet have intrigued me, one of them being a very easy square and a square. So basically you just need two very high contrast fabrics. We have picked Christmas fabrics. This is going to be my center block. We've started out with a 6.5 inch block. You can use a orphan block, or you could fussy cut. If you're going to fussy cut, the only thing you need to remember is that your design should be on the diagonal, and you will understand why when we show you one of the finished ones. So we're going to just simply put our two 6.5 inch blocks right sides together. I'm going to clip them. I've noticed that they have moved a little bit, and then we are simply going to sew 1/4 inch around all four sides. Now, you're going to make sure that your focus fabric is on the bottom, and you're simply going to take a ruler and you're going to make a line from point to point on the diagonal. You can use any marker that you want. This is not anything that needs to be erased later on. I'm using a yellow chocolate liner, one of my favorites. And now we are going to separate these two fabrics, and I'm going to cut on the lines. I'm going to cut right into the corners as far as the tip of the scissors will let me. And then we are going to just press these open. Now, keep in mind, these are all bias edges. So I'm actually going to just iron a little bit right here to open this up, but then when I get to the outside is when I'm going to actually just press so that the bias edges don't get stretched any further. So one of the things that I did notice during the video is that they would simply take this block, turn it right sides together onto the next fabric, which will be our center fabric again. It'll be our focus fabric, and then they would just draw a line and they would sew around. Me being a quilter is going to measure this, and I'm going to cut the exact size that this is, and if I need to square this up a tiny bit, I will do that as well. You can cut off your points if you want. I think I probably will, because once again I'm a quilter. And then we're going to come back, and then we will put our right sides together and we will sew again. All right, so now we're back. This actually happened to be exactly an 8.5 inch square. I don't think that it always comes up perfect. So I have cut this as my opposite fabric, and now we're just going to, oops, I wanted to show you, I did cut off the extra corners here. I'm just gonna pin here, and we're gonna do the same thing, right sides together, and then I'm going to sew 1/4 inch around all four sides. Okay, so now I just wanted to share with you is that you might have noticed I'm sewing on the solid piece of fabric. What's on the back side is where you're going to have any kind of seams and everything, and it's always going to be like that. You don't have to worry about anything lining up, matching up. This is just not that project. So we're going to, once again, I'm going to use my chocolate liner, which yes, we sell here. And then after we mark the diagonal, we're going to cut. Separate your edges. You don't want that to be your mistake. I'm going to just cut all the way as far as I can to the corner that my scissors allow me to. And now we're going to open this up, and I'm going to press. Remember, they are all bias edges. Now, what I want you to notice here is that there are no points. There are no points. The whole thing works out like that. There are no points. That's one of the things that is one of my favorite things about this, is there's no points to match up. It's quick, it's easy, it's down and dirty. We're going to do the same thing that we did previously. We're going to take our square to square. We're going to find out what size this is. As I shared with you earlier, that because I am a quilter, if it's not a perfect square, I'm probably going to square it up a little bit. That's not going to matter that much. I'm going to cut off these points. One of the things that I also wanted to share with you was that we have a class here at Pottstown Sewing called Pottstown's Pincushion Palooza. It's a class that runs once a month. These are one of the items that's made in it, and then we have a whole host of items over here that one of our teachers, Frederica, has come up with all these fun things. There's weights, pattern weights, there's scissors holders, there's a needle book, and my favorite, the voodoo doll. Okay, so we have cut our next color, next contrast fabric. This happened to be, our center block happened to be a little smidge over 11. I'm a quilter. I squared it up to 11. I measured from the center out, so I could do that. Also want you to notice that I did cut a little close to the selvage for this. I'm just going to make sure that I do a full, complete 1/4 of an inch. I cut off the points, and I am going to use these wonderful clips to hold this together because you know, the fabric wants to work a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sew all the way around at 1/4 of an inch. We're going to open it up, press it, and we'll show you that again. Okay, so we're just drawing our center lines. As you can see, I didn't grab the longest ruler here, but I'm eyeballing it pretty good. And we're going to go back. We're going to separate our layers, and we're going to cut. Once again, just cutting as far as the point of the scissors take me. These have more of a blunt edge, so I'm not cutting into any stitches at the corners. So at some point in time with the size of this, you might want to take this to your ironing board, but I personally really love being able to just use the wolf felt pad next to my iron with my little iron. It's just so convenient. You might want to turn this over every now and then and just check to make sure your seams are all lying flat. They're all being pressed to the outside. And there we go with the next size. We're going to go find out what size this is. Now we're going to go back to be cutting our focus fabric. Okay, so we're now at the next layer. This happened to be 14 3/4, almost exactly. I probably only shaved a little bit of edge. Once again, I took off the little point pieces here. I'm going to pin this and, excuse me, I'm going to clip this. Though I do love pins, I also like clips. We're going to sew 1/4 of an inch around. We're going to draw diagonally. We're going to clip, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so now we have sewn this on. We have drawn the line. We have cut it open, and we're going to press. And it's getting bigger and bigger. So when I had talked to you earlier about the clips that I love using, there's the clover clips, and then we have, these are a little bit less expensive. They're just called colorful fabric clips. They do the same thing. Just wanted to let you know that's something that we carry here at the store. Tonight I have been sewing on the Baby Lock Lyric, and the Lyric is a really fantastic machine. It comes with this table. We happen to have one that has pre-owned that we have for sale at only $1,500. If that's something that you're interested in, that would be a great place to either start with your sewing, or maybe you need to trade up. We do trade-ins as well. Okay, so this ended up to be 20-inch, under this block. We've used our contrast fabric, and now we're opening it up. I'm going to press. Now is the point where you might want to be going to your ironing board. I'm a little bit bigger than my pressing mat, but you can see how pretty that is. We're actually going to add one more color. We're going to do one more of the focus fabric, and then I think we're going to stop there. All right, so we are at the final square that we are going to add. This has become a 27.5-inch square, which is our last piece. Here's our piece that we keep adding to. We're ending up with our focus fabric. One of the things that I have really noticed here is this bias edge. They keep growing, my edges keep growing, because when I am cutting the piece that goes on top, obviously that is on green. Might have been a good idea if I had used some kind of starch, such as Best Press, to hold that in place. Once again, I'm using now a lot of clips to keep the edges in place. I'm going to sew around the 1/4 inch, draw my line, and we're going to cut, and then we will open it up, I'll iron it, and then you can see the final size. So here we are. I have added the last square. We've ended with our focus fabric. It is about 38.5 inches square. We started out with a 6.5-inch square, used about 2/3 of a yard of our contrast fabric and about 1 1/3 yards of our, maybe 1 1/4 yards of our focus fabric. All that can change depending on what size of the center block you start. Also, this is all bias. I have added a stay stitching all the way around because it is bias. It is now ready to be quilted. I wanted to also show you some of the other ones that we have made so that you could see some different styles. So this is another one that we made, Halloween themed. Once again, started with a 6.5-inch block. This is where I wanted to share with you, cut this, we fussy cut this so that this is on an angle and this is why, so that it is still in the correct direction when you have your finished piece. We made this one larger. This has one more color on the outside here. I wanted to see how large we could go while still only using the width of fabric as your square. And this is about 50 inches. Once again, it is stay stitched all the way around the outside. I think this has, some purpose as well. This is almost a little bit too much. We were thinking that maybe if there was some appliques here, if this was quilted with glow-in-the-dark thread, that might be fun. This is just one more style that there is, and once again, the high contrast really makes a huge difference, and it's very important, I think, to show off the square and the square. And this is another sample. So this one our teacher Frederica had made, and she was using up scraps of fabric. I can actually tell you all the quilts that these fabrics have been in. So she got this far and wanted to do something a little bit different, ran out of some fabric. So what we really liked is how she joined her borders here to give it a little bit more interest. Once again, still started out with a 6.5 inch center and has simply turned this into her own. So many possibilities with the same square and a square quilt block. I just wanted to thank you for joining me in the square and a square quilt. These are some new fabrics we have in. These might be fun in a square and a square quilt. And if you know anything about me, you know why this is my favorite fabric.